Music 9. Music of Classical Period. Lesson 1. Composers of the Classical Period. Pre-test. Pre-test. How much do you know about the composers of classical period? Find out by answering the following question. Choose the letter of the correct answer. 1. He was the composer who bridged the classical era and the early romantic era. A. Antonio Vivaldi. B. Franz Joseph Haydn. C. Ludwig van Beethoven. D. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. 2. Which of the following is one of the most prominent composers of the classical period? A. Franz Joseph Haydn. B. Ludwig van Beethoven. C. Thomas Morley. D. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. 3. Who is a child prodigy and the most amazing genius in musical history? A. Adam de la Hall. B. Franz Joseph Haydn. C. Ludwig van Beethoven. D. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Four, his music reflects his character and personality, mainly calm, balanced, serious, but with touches of humor. A. Antonio Vivaldi. B. Franz Joseph Haydn. C. Ludwig van Beethoven. D. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. 5. He began deaf in 1796 and continued his passion as a composer. A. Franz Joseph Haydn. B. Ludwig van Beethoven. C. Thomas Morley. D. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Answer key pre-test 1C, 2A, 3D, 4B, 5B. Recap. Fill in the blanks. Complete the paragraph by choosing the right word inside the box. Lesson. Music of the classical period 1750 to 1820. Lesson. The classical era, also called Age of Reason, is the period from 1750 to 1820. The cultural life was dominated by the aristocracy as patrons of musicians and artists who generally influenced the arts. Significant changes in musical forms and styles were made. In the middle of the 18th century, Europe began to move toward a new style in architecture, literature, and the arts known as Classicism. It was also pushed forward by changes in the economic order and in social structure. Instrumental music was patronized primarily by the nobility. The term classical denotes conformity with the principles and characteristics of ancient Greece and Roman literature and art, which were formal, elegant, simple, freed, and dignified. The same characteristics may also describe the melodies of classical music. Harmony and texture is homophonic in general. The dynamics of loud and soft were clearly shown through the extensive use of crescendo and diminuendo. A style of broken chord accompaniment called Alberti bass was practiced. The great composers of the period were Franz Joseph Haydn, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Ludwig van Beethoven. Works of Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven are still popular today. Their compositions are now commonly used as music to animated series of popular cartoon companies, such as Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox, Pixar, etc. Beethoven's music was used in one of the films for children, and Little Einstein's animated series also features the music of the great composers Beethoven, Haydn, and Mozart. Composers of the classical period. Lesson: Composers of the Classical Period. Franz Joseph Haydn, 1732 to 1809. One of the most prominent composers of the classical period. His life is described as a rags to riches story. He came from a poor family, and his music led to his rise in social status. He was hired by rich patrons and eventually became a musical director for the Esterhazy family for 30 years. His music reflects his character and personality, mainly calm, balanced, serious, but with touches of humor. He was able to compose over 100 symphonies and develop them into long forms for a large orchestra. He was named "Father of the Symphony", although he excelled in every music genre of the period. Most of his symphonies have nicknames such as the Surprise Symphony, the Clock, the Military, and he also wrote chamber piano music and choral works. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, 1756 to 1791. He is a child prodigy and the most amazing genius in musical history. At age 5, he was already playing the violin and the harpsichord. At 6, he was recognized as an exceptional pianist, and at 7, he was already composing excellent music. At age 13, he had written sonatas, concertos, symphonies, religious works, and operas and operettas. He experimented in all kinds of music and composed over 700 works. Unfortunately, due to mismanaged finances, he lived his life in poverty, died young, and was buried in an unknown grave. He composed wonderful concertos, symphonies, and opera, such as The Marriage of Figaro, 1786, Don Giovanni, 1789, and the Magic Flute, which became popular. Other known works: Ein Klein Nachtmusik, Symphony No. 40 in G major, and Sonata No. 11 in A major K311. Ludwig van Beethoven, 1770 to 1827. He was born in Bonn, Germany, to a family of musicians and studied music at an early age. He was the composer who bridged the late classical era and the early romantic era. He was a talented pianist and composer. His famous compositions include 32 piano sonatas, 21 set of variations, 9 symphonies, 5 concertos for piano, 16 string quartets, and choral music. His works include the Missa Solemnis 1818 to 1823 and Opera Fidelio 1805. His known symphonies are Symphony No. 3, Eroica, No. 5, No. 6, Pastoral, No. 9, Choral, which adds voices to the orchestra. He began to go deaf in 1796, but this did not become a hindrance. He continued composing through the help of an assistant and hearing gadget. Some of his famous compositions were made when he was deaf. Wrap up. Directions. Complete the table. Music of the classical period. What is classical era? Composers of the classical period, and the name of the composers. Activities. Activity number 1. Listen and answer. Directions. Listen to a recording of one of the composers and answer the following guide questions. Franz Joseph Haydn, 1732 to 1809. Surprise Symphony Number 94. The questions are: 1. How do you feel listening to the music? 2. What story would you want to make based from the music? Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, 1756 to 1791. The Marriage of Figaro. Same questions. 1. How do you feel listening to the music? 2. What story would you want to make based from the music? Ludwig van Beethoven, 1770 to 1827. Same questions. How do you feel listening to the music? 2. What story would you want to make based from the music? Valuing. Directions. Complete the sentences with your own words. 1. My understanding about the music of the classical period is that. 2. The reason why I really appreciate instrumental music from the classical period is because. 3. I love listening to the classical music composition because. Post-test. Directions. Read the questions carefully and circle the letter of the correct answer. 1. His works include the Missa Solemnis, 1818 to 1823, and Opera Fidelio, 1805. 2. At age 5, he was already playing the violin and the harpsichord. At 6, he was recognized as an exceptional pianist And at 7, he was already composing excellent music. 3. The blank, also called Age of Reason, is the period from 1750 to 1820. 4. His life is described as a rags to riches story. He came from a poor family, and his music led to his rise in social status. 5. He composed wonderful concertos, symphonies, and opera such as The Marriage of Figaro, 1786, Don Giovanni, 1789, and The Magic Flute, which became popular. Answer key post test: 1C, 2D, 3A, 4A, 5D. Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something today. Goodbye for now and God bless.